At this time, Dr. Andy Bukacek has a short but very important presentation to give to us, and it is very important. I'm Pastor Chuck Baldwin, Liberty Fellowship in Kalispell, Montana. Many of you in the congregation recognize her as one of the last surviving private practice independent doctors in the Valley. Plus, she has been voted best family physician in the Flathead for the last 7 consecutive years. But today her topic is related to her position as Public Service Commissioner, a 4-year position for which she was elected in November of 2022. She is speaking as an individual, and nothing she says should be construed as reflective of the policies or opinions of the Public Service Commission or any other organization. We're going to have to move the podium here because there's going to be a slide presentation along with her audible presentation. So we'll give a moment for that. But please, for right now, let's all give a good, warm welcome to our very own Dr. Annie Bukacek. Everybody.
So thank you, Pastor. I appreciate the encouraging introduction, and I appreciate the ability to be here. And I'm honored and privileged to give this talk about a topic that's been very heavy on my mind. The AI bubble.
Dr. Annie, hold the mic closer.
The AI bubble. I gave a talk last February about data centers with artificial intelligence. It was a lot of general topics on that. Today I'm going to talk about something very, very specific that has to do with AI, the AI bubble. This presentation will address the following questions. What is a tech stock bubble? Is artificial intelligence, AI, a tech stock bubble? Who benefits from an AI bubble? How might an AI bubble impact you? My disclaimer, nothing I say today should be construed as in any way representative of the opinions or policies of the Montana Public Service Commission, of which I'm a commissioner. Another disclaimer, I am not against AI, data centers, technology, or progress. I'm against this. During my campaign in 2022, my campaign pledge was that I was going to learn as much as I can and then educate folks. And it's because of my belief with Sam Adams, the only way to keep government in check is to have an informed and engaged citizenry. So I first became interested in the AI bubble around August when I read this article. Tech guru Eric Gordon says investors will suffer far more from the AI boom than the dot-com crash. He says the AI boom will go bust and dwarf the dot-com crash because of its greater scale. It takes a hype-driven tech stock to instantly destroy $20 billion in wealth. This article came out in September. Spending on AI is at epic levels. Will it ever pay off? This came out in October. Why fears of a $1 trillion AI bubble are growing. Also in October, I believe it's a bubble, what some smart people are saying about AI. What is a tech stock bubble? A bubble in investment refers to a situation where prices of assets, such as shares of stock in so-called concept companies, become significantly inflated and disconnected from actual value. In a bubble, price and value are disconnected. Price is what you pay, value is what you receive. And throughout this presentation, I'm hoping to make it clear through illustration what concept companies are. Stock bubbles are characterized by rapidly increasing asset prices that exceed their fair value, often driven by investor speculation and hype. Investors with high expectations jump on board believing they can resell the stock later to someone else for even more money. So long as there are enough investors steered by momentum, hype, and/or blind optimism, sophisticated traders will find it profitable to ride the bubble rather than to bet against it. Is AI a stock market bubble? This is one of the best articles that I came across in the last several months. Wall Street Journal, November 14th. When AI hype meets AI reality, a reckoning in 6 charts. Record capital expenditures and data center planning run up against the grounds of truth of physical infrastructure. Very practical, very informative article. A quote from that article: "Here's a way to evaluate the riskiness of the world's collective investment in artificial intelligence. Can we even build all the necessary physical infrastructure? And if so, will the resulting AI-powered products generate enough revenue to pay back that investment? If the first part of this is not true, then the second can't happen." Same article. "There are absolute physical limits to how quickly all of that can be delivered. As a result, some projects are already being delayed." So let's look at some of the absolute physical limits. There are bottlenecks which can delay or prevent data centers with AI from reaching completion, and if they reach completion, can delay bringing in revenue. It takes several years to build the physical structures. These things are huge. Construction materials and workers are needed, many of them. Electricians and engineers, both skilled and unskilled workers in this country, we are lacking in those. Other bottlenecks: aluminum, copper, lithium, rare earth, steel, and so on, required for the chips, servers, transformers, power lines, and power plants. There's a copper smelting process. This is a rare earth mine in California. You can tell by looking at that, you can kind of figure the amount of land, water, human toil, and petroleum that's needed to get this little amount of rare earths. And a lot of the countries where we get our different minerals and metals, they are countries that are hostile toward us, and also even hostile toward their own people. This is an article that came out in Utility Dive, July 9th. "There aren't enough AI chips to support data center projections," report says. "High-end forecasts are not credible," according to London Economics International, which called its report a sanity check on demand growth projects. Chips are microchips, semiconductors, essential for data centers with or without AI. So when you see that term, that's what they're referring to. This is basically what they look like. By that person's finger there, you can get an idea of the size of them. And in these data centers, there are rows and rows and rows of servers that have these chips in them. Multi-millions of chips needed for the average size data center, so the very large ones have hundreds of millions of these chips. And you can get an idea of the size of this one. This is in Indiana. If you look at the cars down here that I'm pointing to, those are cars. So you can get an idea of just how huge this data center is. And these data centers require massive minerals, magnets, and other metals, as you might imagine. This is an article that came out last week. NVIDIA Google AI chip rivalry escalates on report of Meta talks. A deal would signal growing momentum for Google's chips and long-term potential to challenge NVIDIA's market dominance after the company earlier agreed to supply up to 1 million chips. For each data center, 1 million chips isn't really very much. Actually, they need tens of millions usually, some hundreds of millions. And we don't have the rare earths and other minerals to even probably make 1 million. This is another great article, just came out last week. The AI industry is built on a big unproven assumption. It has to do with how long the AI chips will last. It's thought that they last about 3 to 5 years. And because there's so much competition, these chips become obsolete more quickly. So there's potential they'd have to be replaced every 1 to 2 years. So think about it. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions of these chips having to be replaced every 1 to 5 years. This came from this article. The AI boom has raised questions about tech companies improperly calculating the depreciation cycles of specialized chips, which could impact the financial sustainability of the artificial intelligence market. Other bottlenecks: the need for transmission lines to hook up to generation. This is a study that came out in July. In 2024, only 322 miles of new high-voltage transmission lines were completed. For comparison, nearly 4,000 miles were built in 2013 alone. The pace of build-out in 2024 falls far short of national needs. And that's why there's all this accelerated permitting and all of that. But guess what? Accelerating permitting isn't going to do much if you don't have aluminum, you don't have steel, you don't have copper. And that's what these transmission lines need primarily. More bottlenecks, the need for adequate sources of energy generation. This is an article, AI to lift Henry Hub, but lack of electricians slows the timeline. Henry Hub is a natural gas distribution hub located in Louisiana, in the United States. This is a quote from the article. Gas provides more than a quarter of the baseload power required by data centers, and a shortage of gas turbines is turning a supply crunch into a choke point that is pushing electricity prices higher. So that choke point, it's thought that there's a backlog of about 5 years to get gas turbines. So not only do we have a limitation of electricians, but also of gas turbines. This is back to that article. A 2024 review of the Commonwealth of Virginia, the data center capital of the world, concluded that meeting the constrained energy needs of this infrastructure would be very difficult, and even meeting half of it would be difficult. This article, November 3rd, Amazon says Berkshire Utility failing to power data centers. This article from The Atlantic, here's how the AI crash happens. Just a little summary. Data centers take time to approve and build. Power plants and transmission lines take perhaps even more. Labor is limited, supply chains hit snags, investment waxes and wanes. Back to this article. You listen to AI companies, hyperscalers say, here's what I'm going to build over the next 3 years. And then you do the math. And you add up all the things they say, and unless there's a hidden trove of materials, such as turbines and converters and everything else, it's not possible. Same article. Scott Strazik is chief executive of GE Vernova, one of the largest U.S. manufacturers of equipment to generate electricity, such as transformers and natural gas turbines. Strazik recently said on the Wall Street Journal's Bold Names podcast that nearly all of the company's output is booked through 2028. Translation, there's no spare manufacturing capacity to build any faster. This article, any key component of an AI supercomputer that is in short supply will determine how much AI infrastructure can actually be built. For example, even if there were enough power available for every new data center envisioned, there's currently a shortage of transformers, those gray boxes that connect buildings to the power grid. And those need a lot of aluminum and steel, especially steel. So this was an article that came out about 3 weeks ago, within the last 3 weeks, an AP article. Future data centers are driving up forecasts for energy demand. States want proof that they'll get built. The challenges, some say the impossibility of building new power plants to meet that demand so quickly has set off alarm bells for lawmakers, policymakers, and regulators who wonder if these utility forecasts can be trusted. Do the owners and managers of these megatech companies not know they don't have the workers, materials, power lines, and power sources to meet their projections? Are they just innocent lambs? They just really don't know any better? Back to this article, the takeaway, the cost and timing projections of AI companies and their partners don't take into account shortages of equipment. Recently, analysts of J.P. Morgan Fundamental Research created a financial model that projects total investment in global AI infrastructure through 2030, taking physical limitations into account. That figure is $5 trillion. This article came out end of September. David Einhorn sounds warning of the AI spending splurge. Hedge fund manager David Einhorn said the numbers being thrown around are so extreme and questioned whether spending will deliver good outcomes for the firms making those investments. Back to this article, if AI giants and their investors can't make money back, then we're talking about a historically large case of overbuilding and overinvestment. Concept companies, great ideas, but they can't bring anything forth. So this was October 31st, an AP article where the tech companies were doing just great. They had a big splurge. They did great that week. A week later, this week, the AI boom got a reality check on Wall Street. So that was October 31st. This is November 7th, 1 week later. This one came out several days after that. The AI boom is looking more and more fragile. AI stocks have swung downward as doubt rises about sustainability and payoff. This is another article, came a day after that last one. Big tech soaring profits have an ugly underside. OpenAI's losses. Yeah. Back to this article. An increasing share of AI investment is fueled by debt. OpenAI, Anthropic, and other startups continue to lose money, and must fund most of this investment selling off pieces of themselves to investors. This was an article that came out on the 27th, Thanksgiving, 3 days ago. OpenAI partners amass a $100 billion debt pile to fund its ambitions. The subtitle, Cloud companies and developers rely on loss-making startup to repay huge loans. Yes, it's a bubble. No question about it. AI bubble. Concept companies lacking financial performance, increasingly financed by loans, which means debt, generating no revenue, not producing much, no clear model for making AI profitable, built on hype and speculation, with insufficient structures and materials starting at the critical minerals level. And it looks like it might be collapsing. But everything is awesome. That's what these guys say. Look at how happy they are. All smiles. Life is great. Everything is awesome. It was a full-length Lego cartoon that came out in 2014. I don't know if you saw it, but the underlying theme of it, the citizens of Legoland, they'd be going through their day, going through their work day, their activities of daily living, just kind of enjoying life, thinks everything's awesome. And in the meantime, there's these evil Lego monsters that are planning their doom. I recommend you see it. So this one came out on Thanksgiving as well. Bubble talk has not dampened Silicon Valley AI rush. Subtitle, venture capital deal-making on Sand Hill Road is still frenzied despite falls in tech sector shares. And apparently, even though they don't have the minerals to do any of this, everything is awesome. So why are big tech moguls continuing to invest and make positive financial projections? As bubbles grow and before they burst, there's a lot of money to be made by savvy, sophisticated investors. And a lot of money is being made by big tech owners and managers, even from concept companies that don't generate revenue. They generate enough hype to draw investors. This is an article that came out November 2nd. NVIDIA is worth $5 trillion. Here's what it means for the market. It's all hype. They don't have the minerals, but everything's awesome. Lucrative compensation packages. That's why he's so happy. Cash salaries and bonuses, fringe benefits, and stock awards based on the value of the company's stock and earning potential. It's based on hype. It's hard to fathom that that's how they're making their billions, but they are, on concept companies. This article came out last week, how the U.S. economy became hooked on AI spending. Growth has been bolstered by data center investment and stock market wealth. A reversal could raise the risk of recession. The turbulence that hit stocks tied to artificial intelligence last week highlights a broader risk to the economy. Growth has become so dependent on AI-related investment and wealth that if the boom turns to bust, it could take the broader economy with it. This house of cards could fall, could be falling. And we think about investors, we think about the ones carrying their briefcases or sitting at a big table or something making plans, but in reality, regular moms and pops, you and me, their 401ks, their retirement plans, all those things. So when these big investors fall, the little guys fall too. Maybe tech giants don't need to worry because the government with our tax dollars will bail them out. Is that possible? Have we ever seen that before? This is an article that came out November 2nd. Is OpenAI becoming too big to fail? The tech giants themselves show concern they'll not be able to deliver to their investors. OpenAI, in a September white paper, said it was in favor of expanding federal loan guarantees to allow AI companies to confidently purchase US-made chips at scale. This article came out November 9th. How are we going to pay for this? OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer said the startup hoped financial institution and perhaps the federal government you and me, might help to guarantee chip financing with a backstop. You may already be bailing out the AI business. According to this article, November 12th, Washington is treating the industry as if it's too big to fail, even as the market sends lukewarm signals. Same article, the federal government is already bailing out the AI industry with regulatory changes and public funds that will protect companies in the event of a private sector pullback. This is an article, another one came out, a lot came out on Thanksgiving Day, I'm not sure why, but tech titans amass multi-million-dollar war chests to fight AI regulation. Some are battling state AI laws and threatening to punish candidates who oppose rapid deployment of the technology. Billionaires and tech leaders are funding multi-million-dollar campaigns to influence AI regulation before the 2026 midterm elections. Concept companies doing this. Same article, the biggest player so far is Leading the Future, a super PAC that has said it would use donations of more than $100 million to reshape the political environment around innovation policy. What else might they use their billions for? Billions and trillions of dollars based on hype. That's how they've made their money. Who benefits from the AI bubble and its crash, and the bailouts, and the deregulation of these people, and the AI hype? Not you. The world's 10 richest people are 500 billion wealthier this year thanks to the AI boom. This is from the Business Insider, October 28th, 2025. This article is from Fortune magazine, November 4th. America's wealthiest billionaires get $698 billion richer this year, and Trump's tax policy could give them a new windfall. Nearly the entire ultra-rich cohort is made up of tech leaders profiting from the gold rush in tech and AI, including Larry Ellison, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Jensen Huang. On average, each person on America's top rich list gained $69.8 billion over the last year. Each individual got that much over the last year. While billionaires are getting richer, Americans are scraping by. And these billionaires, they don't do it without help from our government, both sides of the aisle. They couldn't do it without help of the government. So Meta, Amazon, and Google, OpenAI, they have remade our world. Got to remember, this is a global phenomenon. A lot of those articles that I read from were talked about, the global reach. This article that I referred to from Hart Energy, AI to lift Henry Hub, which is something in the United States, that was spoken about at a conference at Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. They're talking about how to carve up United States resources, how to use them. It's global. And remember, these familiar multinational corporations, they might have their main headquarters in the United States, but they're multinational. They have headquarters other places too. And I go into in great detail what this means to us and what it will probably mean to us in the future in my talk about my presentations about Follow the Money and the one about Made in the USA. Meta, Amazon, and Google, OpenAI, have remade our world and have become unfathomably rich for it, all the while mostly oblivious or uninterested in the fallout. This is an article that came out October 3rd. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. It's the name of a book. And they're talking about this book. The industry, the authors write, has become a death cult that brooks no dissent, with numerous corporations along with government racing to build an artificial superintelligence under the assumption that whoever achieves this breakthrough will dominate the 21st century and possibly the world. You're familiar, I'm sure you're all familiar with this quote from Lord Acton. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Another quote from him, where you have concentration of power in a few hands, all too frequently, men with the mentality of gangsters get control. History has proven that. This article in August about a worrisome study about AI had part of this as it's in its analysis with a little bit of balance here. AI is technology that has the potential to enable enormous leaps in productivity and human understanding, and yet at the same time is an enabler in a much more destructive, malignant sense. This presentation is not intended to promote doom and gloom or fear. Though I do think what I'm talking about, it looks like it's putting us closer to the road to serfdom. But remember David and Goliath? We know how that story ended, and we know the little guy won, and we know by whose power that little guy won. The best prevention and antidote to this is informed and engaged citizenry. I truly believe that. That's why I give these presentations. This is a cover of a book, Choose Freedom. I like the subtitle too, Embrace It, Understand It, Defend It. Thank you very much.